Hey everyone, and welcome to this deep dive. We're going to be looking at something pretty profound today.
Oh, yeah.
The concept of God's love, and you know how it can actually impact your life.
Mm-hmm.
And to do that, we're going to be focusing on this article called Embracing God's Love, a powerful reminder of acceptance and belonging.
All right.
And it all kind of centers around this verse from the Bible,
Yeah.
John 6.37.
Okay. Yeah, this verse is, it's really interesting, I think, because it goes way beyond, just like a typical religious message.
Right.
It really gets at something I think all humans long for, like to feel accepted and loved, for exactly who they are, flaws and all.
Yeah, it's like that core need to belong.
Absolutely.
The article actually quotes the verse. And it's pretty powerful. All those the Father gives me will come to me, and whoever comes to me I will never drive away.
Wow. That's pretty amazing when you think about it.
It's almost radical, like complete unconditional acceptance.
It really is. And to kind of get the full weight of that statement, it helps to understand the context a little bit.
Okay.
So in the Bible, this verse, it's actually part of a larger conversation where Jesus is talking about being the bread of life.
Okay.
It's kind of this powerful metaphor for spiritual nourishment.
Yeah.
The idea that we crave a connection to something bigger than ourselves. Just like we need food to survive.
Right. So we're connecting that idea of needing, spiritual sustenance with this radical acceptance.
Mm-hmm.
So what does that actually tell us about God's love?
Well, I think it really points to a love that's just freely given without any strings attached.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to earn it. You don't have to prove yourself worthy. It's simply there waiting to be embraced.
That's so comforting, especially when you think about all the ways we try to earn love and acceptance in our everyday lives.
Exactly. And the article actually talks about this, this fear of rejection and how it can show up in so many areas of our lives, from personal insecurities to the pressures of, our professional lives.
Okay, so let's dive into that a little deeper.
Yeah.
Let's start with those personal insecurities.
Oh.
I mean, I think we've all experienced that nagging feeling of not being good enough.
Oh, yeah.
So how can this idea of God's love help us overcome that?
Well, the article suggests that embracing your identity as a child of God can be really powerful.
Yeah.
It's really about recognizing your inherent worth, not based on your accomplishments or what other people think of you, but simply because you are a beloved creation.
So it's like shifting our focus from external validation to an internal sense of worth that comes from being loved by God.
Exactly. And the article, it actually offers some practical tips to help kind of solidify that internal shift.
Well, what are those tips?
One that stood out to me was remembering this phrase from Psalm 139.14.
Okay.
I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Imagine waking up every day and reminding yourself of that truth.
Yeah.
You are inherently valuable. A unique and cherished creation.
It's like rewiring your brain to see yourself through that lens of God's love rather than through the lens of, your own insecurities or the expectations of others.
I love that.
It's powerful.
Yeah. And the article actually brings this idea to life with a story about this woman named Maria. Right. She had a really tough childhood and carried a lot of pain from feeling rejected by her family.
Wow.
But when she discovered this verse, John 6.37, it completely shifted her perspective.
Wow.
She realized that God's love for her was unconditional and that she didn't have to carry the weight of her past anymore.
It's a beautiful example of how this can impact real lives.
It is.
But why do you think her experience resonated with so many people?
Well, I think it's because on some level, we all long for that kind of unconditional acceptance.
Yeah.
Marita's story, it just gives us a glimpse of what it looks like to experience that kind of love and to find healing from those past hurts.
It's like she discovered this wellspring of love that she didn't even know existed.
Yeah.
And it totally transformed her life.
Absolutely. And what's even more remarkable is that this transformative power, it's not just limited to overcoming personal insecurities.
Right.
The article actually goes on to explore how this concept can impact other areas of our lives, including our careers.
It's interesting. I think a lot of people, myself included, struggle with tying their worth to their professional achievements.
Absolutely. It's so easy to get caught up in the pressure to succeed. To constantly strive for, that next promotion or that recognition.
Yeah, always looking for that external validation.
Yeah, but the article makes a crucial point.
Okay.
Our worth, it's not determined by our job titles or our salaries.
So even in a high-pressure work environment, this idea of being loved unconditionally by God can offer a sense of stability and grounding.
Exactly. God's love, it provides a foundation of worth that transcends, the ups and downs of our careers. It's a reminder that we are loved and valued regardless of our professional successes or failures.
It's such a freeing concept, especially in today's world where so much emphasis is placed on, achievement and external validation.
It really is. And the article actually offers some really practical ways to apply this concept in our daily work lives.
I'm all ears because, let's be real, work can be incredibly stressful.
Oh, yeah.
And it's easy to get caught up in that cycle of striving and comparison.
Absolutely. One of the suggestions that really resonated with me was this idea of letting go of perfectionism.
Okay.
The article encourages us to embrace the idea that God has a purpose for us, regardless of our job title or how perfectly we perform.
That's a great reminder. It's about shifting our focus from trying to prove ourselves to embracing the unique gifts and talents that we bring to the table.
Exactly. And instead of beating ourselves up over mistakes, the article encourages us to practice grace in our failures.
Okay.
It's a reminder that God's love for us remains constant even when we mess up.
It's so important because I think a lot of us struggle with being kind to ourselves, especially when we make mistakes.
It's a common struggle.
Yeah.
But this concept of God's unwavering love, it can really help us reframe our perspective.
And, the article shares another story this time about a man named John.
Okay.
He's a middle manager, and he was feeling really stuck and inadequate in his job.
I can relate to that,
Yeah.
John's story. I think it's a perfect example of how detaching our self-worth from our job title can lead to a profound sense of peace.
So instead of looking to his job for validation, he found a deeper sense of purpose and meaning in his relationship with God.
Exactly. John realized that his true value came from being loved by God, not from his position in the company.
It's so easy to get caught up in, thinking we need to be productive or climb the corporate ladder.
For sure.
But John's story, it's a good reminder that true worth comes from something deeper.
Absolutely. It's a powerful reminder that, our value as human beings isn't contingent on external factors.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of brings us back to what I find so compelling about John 6.37.
Okay.
It's that unwavering assurance that no matter what we do or don't do, God's love remains constant.
That's comforting, especially in a world that often feels so conditional.
Yeah.
But, it's one thing to intellectually grasp this concept of unconditional love.
Mm-hmm.
It's another thing to truly internalize it and live it out.
Absolutely. It's not just about understanding the concept. It's about allowing that understanding to transform our hearts and minds.
So how do we do that?
Well, the article actually offers some practical advice on how we can cultivate, that deeper trust in God's unwavering love.
Okay, I'm curious. What are some of those tangible steps?
Well, one suggestion is to actively remember God's faithfulness in our past.
Okay.
The article encourages us to look back at times when we felt God's presence or guidance, even in the midst of difficult circumstances.
So it's like creating a mental catalog of those moments where we experience God's love in a tangible way.
Exactly. It's about recognizing those patterns of grace and remembering that even when things were tough, God was there with us.
Yeah, it's like building a foundation of trust based on those real experiences, not just abstract ideas.
Exactly. And another suggestion is to, really embrace the idea that God's grace is sufficient.
Okay.
No matter what we're going through, no matter how far we may feel from God, the article reminds us that we're never too far gone.
Right.
To return to that source of love and acceptance.
That's so important because I think a lot of us, myself included, struggle with feeling like we have to be perfect.
Yeah.
Or have it all together before we can approach God.
That's a common misconception. But the truth is, God's love isn't based on our performance. It's freely given without any preconditions.
It's like that saying, God loves us not because of who we are, but because of who he is.
That's good.
It's his nature to love unconditionally.
It is. And the article also emphasizes, the importance of extending that love to others.
Right, so it becomes this ripple effect.
Yeah.
As we experience God's love, we naturally start to express it in our interactions with others.
Exactly. And as we share that love and acceptance with others, it creates a sense of belonging, not just for ourselves, but for those around us as well.
This conversation has really got me thinking about how powerful this concept of unconditional love can be, even for people who aren't necessarily religious or who haven't grown up with this kind of faith tradition.
That's a great point. It speaks to the universality of this human need for love and acceptance.
Yeah.
And I think the article does a really good job of presenting this concept in a way that resonates with people from all walks of life.
It's like they've distilled the essence of this message and made it accessible to anyone who's ever felt rejected, or long to experience true belonging.
Yeah.
I wonder if this resonates with you too, listener.
Yeah. Have you ever experienced a moment where you felt truly seen and accepted for who you are, flaws and all?
Or maybe you've encountered someone who radiated that kind of unconditional love and acceptance. What impact did that have on you?
We'd love to hear your thoughts.
Because even if you don't subscribe to a specific religious belief system, this idea of unconditional acceptance, it's incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
It can transform how we approach relationships, our work, even our personal challenges.
Absolutely.
I'm already starting to imagine how embracing this idea could shift my perspective and create a greater sense of freedom and security in my own life.
It's like having this underlying foundation of worth and belonging, knowing that regardless of our achievements or failures, we are inherently loved and accepted.
And that kind of inner security can empower us to take risks, to be more vulnerable, and to show up more authentically in all areas of our lives.
It allows us to move through the world with a greater sense of compassion and understanding both for ourselves and for others.
Yeah, it's like we're invited to step into a whole new way of being.
Yeah.
One where our worth isn't always, on the line.
Right. And what's interesting is that the article, it doesn't present this acceptance as like a passive state of being, but as an active choice.
Okay, so it's not just about acknowledging that this love exists. It's about choosing to embrace it.
Exactly. And that takes effort. It means like pushing back against those ingrained patterns of self-criticism and judgment. Those voices that tell us we're not good enough.
It's like we have to actively rewire our thinking. Replace those old tapes with this message of radical love and acceptance.
And the article suggests that, this inner transformation, it can have a ripple effect impacting not just our relationship with God, but our relationships with others as well.
So as we experience that unconditional love, it starts to flow into how we treat other people.
Exactly. We become more compassionate, more forgiving, more understanding. We start to see the inherent worth in everyone, not just those who meet our expectations or fit into our, preconceived notions.
We're breaking free from those conditional ways of loving and moving towards something much deeper.
I think so. And that's where the real beauty lies. In those moments of genuine connection of seeing and being seen, accepting and being accepted. That's where we truly experience the transformative power of love.
This has been an amazing deep dive. It's really taken this idea of God's love and shown us how it can revolutionize our lives.
It's a powerful reminder that we're not defined by our achievements, our failures, or even our past mistakes. Our identity, it's rooted in something so much deeper.
The article's concluding sentence, I think, sums it up perfectly. Embrace the freedom that comes with knowing you are fully accepted and never rejected.
That's a good one.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, we'll leave you with this thought. Even if you don't consider yourself religious, what if you just embrace this idea of unconditional acceptance? How could that change your approach to challenges, relationships, your outlook on life?
It's a question worth thinking about.
It is. Until next time, keep diving deep.